Speaking out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I'm Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen, and shout out as always to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. And you may have noticed a beautiful man under both of us. It's been a while since he has been on the show, been on the channel, but he is here. He is back. He is Connor Casey here to promote Pro Wrestling Symphony. It goes down June 1st in Nashville at the Brooklyn Bowl. Connor, how you doing, buddy?
Jeremy, it has been too long. I think last time I was on here was when we were still doing the debate show.
I got asked by SB3 to bring that back this morning. Legitimately this morning. He's like, can you do that like once a month, like an In the Weeds special? I'm like, because In the Weeds now has like a set time every single day, it makes it easier of like, can you do this time instead of, hey, does this time work? Does that time work? Right. So I'm considering doing it. See,
John and Alba and I had wars on that thing. I just remember the key to winning was to always just shout, fuck Kevin Durant, and you give me the win.
Very true. The truer words have never been more spoken, and still true words ring out. He's trying to curry favor right now. He's like, oh, the 2025 Thunder are really good. They got a bucket getter, and they got depth, and they got I was like, I don't care, Kevin Durant. You're still enemy number one, so I do not care.
You don't get to take credit for this.
Yeah, you left. You had a chance to be part of a Thunder team and a potential title team, and you ran to Golden State. We don't care what you think about this team. You don't exist anymore to us. And I'm strongly considering bringing it back. We shall see. Connor here to promote Pro Wrestling Symphony. Tell us about this. Tell us what's going on with this.
Yeah, so it is the first of what's going to be monthly shows, Pro Wrestling Symphony out in Nashville, Tennessee. The first show, the headliner is Colby Carter, a local hometown hero, taking on Donovan Dijak. Some of y'all may know him. He might just ratio me during the show. We'll see. We've got guys like Fresh Air out of Canada, one of my favorite tag teams from up there, fresh off losing the IWTV Tag Team Championships. They're taking on Royal Prestiges, Tavon Jordan, and Majestic. We've got Beef, who some of y'all recognize from AEW and Ring of Honor. He's taking on Jeremiah Plunkett from the NWA. And we've got Kaya McKenna teaming up with a mystery tag team partner to take on Shaza McKenzie and Ari Alexander. J-Rod was going to be her tag team partner, but somebody attacked her backstage, and now she is out of action. It's unfortunate. And we were going to have Freya the Slayer taking on Brooke Havoc from out on the West Coast. Unfortunately, due to some travel issues, Brooke can't make it, so it'll be Freya the Slayer taking on Caitlin Alexis, who you may know from TNA on her various appearances there. But yeah, it's gonna be at the Brooklyn Bowl. It's an exciting downtown venue. We're hyped for it. We've been trying to get a homegrown promotion based out of Nashville up and running. This is over a year in the making, and we are thrilled to see what we bring to you guys.
I'm excited. I'm happy that you guys are doing that. I lived in Nashville for like 10 years up until it was from 2011 till basically the pandemic. Moved back to Atlanta, and my favorite indie promotion of all time is Subgraph, Southern Underground Pro, out of the Basement East. And I know that they had, we've had Kevin Q on the show and stuff, and friendly with Righteous Jesse and like Dylan Hales and kind of like the people that put that company together. And it sounded like they were having issues with like Live Nation and stuff, like securing venues in more recent years and stuff like that. So hearing that you're doing Brooklyn Bowl as the venue in Nashville, I love hearing that. I think you're going to get a good turnout of a mix of wrestling fans and just like randoms in Nashville. And what was kind of, I guess, the motivation of, outside of like just wanting to have a monthly show, like obviously a lot of work goes into this. Like what's like really motivating you and driving you to do this? Because as, once again, someone who was, because I consider myself a Nashvilleian still in a lot of ways. I love knowing that there's going to be more regular wrestling in Nashville on a regular basis again.
So I'll kind of give the origin story. So Towards the end of the pandemic, Jerry Lynn opens up his wrestling school in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And I go there and meet two guys who are now two of my closest friends, and Rory Miller and Pat Dooley. I went in to be a manager. Rory was a commentator and Pat was a ring announcer. And we all kind of went our separate ways and start working the different territories in Middle Tennessee, effectively. And the thing that we kept bumping up against was, why is nobody running Nashville proper? They would run all the small towns around it, but never actually downtown or even close to downtown. You had to go an hour out of the way to Dixon or Hendersonville or Gallatin or Hohenwald, just very small towns. You wouldn't know how to find them unless you knew exactly what you were looking for. And you mentioned Sup Grabs. Sup was awesome. But when they went away, and they kind of went away quietly, everyone's kind of looked around and went, where are we going with this? And
Alec Price destroyed their title belt and they just disappeared. I mean, that's pretty much what ended up happening.
Right.
And then the only other places, to your point, too, is like the Nashville Fairgrounds, which is like way out of the way if you want to go see wrestling. That's like another wrestling area in Nashville or whatever.
So we kind of dug into like the history of Nashville wrestling. We were like, okay, TNA leaves the asylum to go down to Orlando. A bunch of little promotions would come and they would go, Sup being the most recent example. And we looked around and we're like, okay, any company that's coming here is either the big two, because obviously TNA during the pandemic were doing a lot of stuff here. And then there were smaller companies from Florida, from Georgia, from the Carolinas. They would come over here once every now and then, but there was never anything consistent. And we're just like, well, if no one's going to do it, why not us? Why not try? And we start asking around. We're like, is there a want for this? And the wrestlers in the area are like, absolutely, we want this. And we start talking to wrestlers from other states that are big on the independents. And we're like, hey, would you be up for this? They're like, absolutely. We've been wanting to run that. We've wanted to work Nashville and have never had the opportunity to do so. So we're like, let's give Nashville the promotion it deserves, in the same way Deadlock is for the Carolinas, in the same way Defy is for the Pacific Northwest. GCW was for Jersey and now just is for everybody. Anarchy is for St. Louis, the various Chicago and Cleveland promotions. Like, we've kind of hit a spot where we've hit a second territory era, where if you go to a major city, they've got at least one promotion. And the fact that Nashville didn't, when we've got a $1 billion tourism industry and millions of people just show up to the city every year to drink for a weekend, why not? And so the ultimate goal of it is to turn Symphony into, kind of one of the pillars of Nashville live entertainment, to where, if you've ever done a long weekend in Nashville, by Sunday, you're pretty tired of the honky tonks. You've drank enough and you've partied enough. Maybe you want to do something else. That's why the Nashville Sounds are popular, our minor league baseball team. That's why the Escape game blew up and started here. That's why we've got a Cirque du Soleil type show called Shiners that, I think it sold $1 million worth of tickets in its first year. Like, there's all these different shows that come around and they become these little mainstays, and we're like, we want to be a part of it. So that's what we're trying to build here.
I want to know about some of the difficulties of putting this stuff together, because I can only imagine you don't have to give like everything away, but anytime you watch like a pro wrestling documentary or just like hear stories, there's just like horror stories of like trying to put this kind of stuff together. So what has been some of the like challenges when it comes to putting this together?
So part of it is just an organizational thing. You got to get the funding. You've got to get the arena. You've got to get the ring, the chairs, the barricades, the pipe and drape, all that stuff. Now, some of that stuff you will find. Some of that you've got to pay out of pocket. Some of that sponsors will help you with. It's just a lot of infrastructure work. So we really did spend basically a year establishing our LLC, building our logos. This is just one of a couple. Getting our merch set up, and then realizing it wasn't any good, and then going with a better merch creator. Getting the talent. And I'll say this, one of the big hurdles we've been running into is that there is this spectrum of wrestler. On one end, you have wrestlers who know how to communicate with promoters, and on the other end, you have ones that have absolutely no idea. And they all range somewhere on that line. And it doesn't matter if you've been on television. It doesn't matter if you've worked in front of 20 fans, 200 fans, or 20,000 fans. some people just don't know how to communicate, and they don't have an email to reach. They don't check their DMs. They don't give out their number. So then you're kind of like, hey, we want to work with you, but you're not communicating with us. So we got to go look elsewhere. And I kind of sit back and I'm just like, I don't blame necessarily them for all of it, because there are so many wrestlers now where once they're out of high school, they're just pro wrestlers full time. So they were never in a professional work environment. So they're just kind of winging it. But then I look at, we've talked to a lot of people from very reputable schools and learned from big time wrestling names. And I get the sense that some of them aren't educating their students on how to communicate with promoters. And I just kind of sit back and I'm like, if that's my one message to every school in the country, it's, hey, teach your guys how to give their rates, say if they need travel accommodations, set up an email so that they can take bookings, check their DMs regularly, and go from there. And it will make a world of difference, because we'll talk to people, and I'm never going to name names, who go on social media. They're like, hey, I'm looking for more opportunities. Cool. We DM them. 5 days later, still nothing. And you're just kind of sitting there like, well, I can tell you one reason why.
Give names. Let's bury them, Connor. Let's call them all out. No, I'm kidding.
When we keep joking that, like, every time we take a group photo, we're like, this is where the photo cuts to black and it's the Dark Side of the Ring episode. When that episode airs, I will bury everyone.
Well, it seems like you've been able to put together a really strong roster of talent that you mentioned a moment ago, kind of going through the card. I guess, like, so obviously those people responded. So that's good.
Yeah.
What was it like, I guess, as far as like making the decisions for who you wound up booking? Because you have people from like all over the place, like Fresh Air, I know from like mainly like the Canadian scene. I remember Beef when he was Gnarls Garvin wrestling in like Chattanooga years ago at the SCI and that kind of stuff. Like Dijak, obviously all over the world, known worldwide. Like, how did you kind of formulate the roster, and did you run into a situation, without naming names, where like you kind of like you did wind up having to maybe turn people away or something? And what was that kind of experience like if you had to deal with it?
So it was a combination of a lot of just different booking meetings where you would talk about what talent we want to work with, what talent is available, are they affordable, do they need travel accommodations, can we put them up in a hotel, do they need flights, do they need Ubers to and from the airport, are they going to drive in, are they going to bring other people, can they take a loss? Because what you don't realize with some of the bigger companies is they've got it in their contracts where, hey, if you're going to go work the independents, you can't lose, or you can't take the pin, you can't submit. So then you're like, okay, how do we work around that? We've run into wrestlers with the popular agencies where they just go flat out before we even talk to their client, hey, our guy can't lose. And you go, well, that severely limits what we can do, because if you're coming out of a position from this guy can never lose, and we're only going to use him 2 to 3 times, we gain nothing from this. We obviously gain their star power, but when they leave, we have the talent that they've been working with. And if all they've done is take losses, then you look at the local guys, you go, well, then who the hell are they? So you've got to balance those things. It's also got to be a matter of, hey, do these matches make sense? Are these we start from a position of, is this a show I want to see? And then build from there, and then go, hey, we can get him in June, but we can't get him for the next couple months after that. Okay, then we consider that. Hey, we would love to work with this guy. We can't get him till August. Cool, we'll work around that. We closely study, all the different major promotions, who's hot, who's stars on the rise right now, who's PWI giving love to in their massive rankings lists. Who's taking more bookings, who's trying to get out of wherever they've been based out of and are trying to expand. It all just, everything's written on a giant whiteboard in one of my guys' spare rooms. And that's been erased and rewritten dozens of times, even for this first show. But it's the most fun part of it, because you're tempted to just constantly, dream up your next show, when in reality it's like, this is fun. We got like 20 different things on the back end we got to do first before we can even announce this card.
I'll tell you one thing, you guys. Oh, go ahead, Jensen.
So I was just going to follow up and ask. You may have mentioned this, because I know, obviously running a regular show, I would imagine you're going to have some sort of championships and stuff like that to, some sort of tournament or something to crown champions, and then also to have someone that you can rely on to be there to regularly defend, which is essentially what you're trying to avoid by what you were just mentioning, booking bigger names that might not be around, and you want to build people who are going to be there.
Right.
What are, I guess, what are the plans, I guess, for championships in the company?
So the plan is to have the tournaments that will crown new champions start, I believe, in November. They'll run through the December show, and then we will take January off because that is just the worst month to try to book anyone for anything, because you come off the holidays, everyone's like, yeah, I'm recovering, or I'm, financially I'm not in a great place to travel. So we take January off. We come back the first Sunday of February is when we crown our champions. So that's your singles champion, that's your women's champion, that's your tag team champions. Because one of the big things is we want to really put an emphasis, women's wrestling and tag team wrestling. It's freaking awesome. But a lot of places don't offer you the opportunities to do it. So that's why when we started this, we're immediately like, let's get fresh air. And when we originally announced them, it was to defend those IWTV tag titles, even though we're not on IWTV for this first show, at least. But we wanted something like that you weren't going to see elsewhere. But we're still bringing them in because we know, hey, they're going to tear down the house whether they've got gold around their waist or not. But yeah, expect that the first Sunday of February, that show will be when all those champions get crowned, and you'll have a pretty good idea of where we're going in terms of direction.
For those of you who might not know, it was. Oh, sorry, I have a little bit of a delay, Jeremy. I don't mean to cut you off like that.
No, you're fine.
But I was just going to shout out the new IWTV tag champs. For anyone who missed it, are Jaden Newman and Jameson Shook. They recently won. We see them a lot. They run regular out of the Chattanooga area on a monthly basis. TWE. We talk about them a lot here on the show too, which is another cool thing. And it's one thing I'm missing from Nashville, like that regular. Because like you can go to Chattanooga, you can see it regular. You can go around Atlanta, you see action wrestling and stuff like that on a regular basis. But Nashville doesn't have that. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, I like that you have kind of the long-term vision with everything at the moment. And one thing I was going to praise is you guys send out press releases. This is how it came across my radar, is I just got an email from your people. Some people just sent me the email. I was like, all right, yeah, I'll run this, because I don't think a lot of companies realize that wrestling websites will basically run anything you just kind of send them, because it's easy content and easy thing to post. And as someone who, not that I'm like looking for easy posts or anything, but I'm like, oh, sure, you're going to send me something, I'll gladly post this for you, because it takes 5 seconds to copy and paste the press release. You know what I mean? And then if we run it, we've got a good reputation with everything. So other websites see that. It's like, oh, well, if Fightful ran it, then we will run this press release as well. And all it takes is legitimately just one email to me or to Sean or to whoever. And don't send it to Sean. He's like 2 days behind on his emails all the time. You can send it to me. I'm much more on top of things. But just one email, and then it gets run, and then it becomes a thing. So the fact that you were already like doing that of, hey, get a press release together, send this out there, that's a big step that a lot of companies don't take. So I don't know. I commend you for putting that together immediately.
I appreciate that. We talked a little bit off air. Like, one of the reasons that this has been able to go as well as it has so far is that it's not just me. It is a team. And Rory and Pat, we're constantly talking. We're constantly bringing our different skill sets to the table. And for me, that's, hey, I covered wrestling professionally for a decade. And in that time, I learned, hey, if you want to get your name out as promotion, send out press releases, send out results posts, work on getting your cage match profile set up, actively update that, go get a Wikipedia page made, go to all of the local news outlets, send their stuff. Even if they don't write a story about you, they'll put your event in their event calendar so that when they Google your promotion, you've got 20 links going up. Even if they're calendar entries, that still shows up, as opposed to, oh, what the hell is this? All I'm seeing is one Facebook post about it, and then you just kind of leave it at that. Like, one of the advantages the bigger companies have is infrastructure. So when a show is happening, you not only know everything leading up to it, while the show is actually taking place, there are posts and videos and photos constantly going up. We've hired somebody to just handle the social medias during the show so that it's not like build up, radio silence during the show while it's actually happening because everybody is too busy running it. And then you go right back to promoting the next show a couple of days later. And that drives me nuts. So I'm like, no.
That happens all the time, by the way. Like, that happens so often with indie shows that I cover mainly for the weekender. I'm always looking for like a whole bunch of, I try to cover like 10 different indie companies a weekend. And I'm always going through, and sometimes I'll literally go on the social media because stuff won't be uploaded yet. And it'll be promotion for the event all the way up. Nothing about what happened on the show. All I can maybe scramble together is like, maybe some fans that were there live tweeted a couple things about it, but like, dude, I'm glad you brought that up because as a fan, not even if I wasn't covering it, as a fan who wants to follow along, it drives me nuts when they go radio silent and then come back a few days later without even like catching you up on what's happening, and they just start promoting the next show. It's right. You're 100% right about that.
The excuse I've heard is that don't give away what's happening on the show because then people will just stay home and catch up with it on social media. And I'm like, no. Nothing's going to replace being in the actual crowd. If you want to go, you'll go. And videos of it going on Instagram and Twitter aren't going to stop anybody. So you should just do it. And then what drives me nuts is, there are other promotions where I'll be following what they do. They'll promote a show. They won't say who won what. They'll just post photos. And then you kind of sit back and you go, this is cool. I have no idea what happened on your show. And that doesn't help anybody. So that
I see companies do that with champions. Like they'll post like a promotion will post a picture of a champion who won the belt on that show, and that's all you see. So you're just like super confused, like, oh, I guess there's a new world champion, and nothing gets. I would have liked to know what was happening because, like you said, I wasn't there live to witness it. So like, no harm, no foul there. But no, you're preaching to the choir. I just like hearing someone else talking about this because like this is stuff that I'm constantly dealing with myself. So,
and it's not trying to bury anybody because I get it. When the show is happening, everybody's hair is on fire and you're trying to keep things organized. But that's when you just got to delegate responsibilities to other people.
Right? One thing aside from the press releases is like you guys have a website. I've been preaching for years of like, why don't these wrestling companies have a website? I don't want to go on your Facebook and figure this out. Some of them don't even have a Twitter, but everyone just thinks, oh, we have a Facebook or we just have a social media or an Instagram or whatever. It's like a website goes a long way. If you search for the company, it's like, oh, here's the event. Here's maybe some results. Here's what's upcoming. Here's maybe a sizzle reel, like whatever. You guys got like a roster page and everything. It's like, this is valuable information. This is no knock on GCW. They're the biggest independent company out there. You can only follow GCW on social media stuff. There's no website to go to that tells you, hey, here's this GCW event coming up. Or here is, I feel like I am frozen.
You're good. You're just lagging a little bit, but you're good. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Oh, as we said that.
Everyone's frozen for me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Me and Connor are all right, I think.
Hopefully this is okay.
You got that Denise internet connection.
All right.
Great.
Now it's going to go haywire because I mentioned it.
Jeremy, do you need to disconnect and come back on? He's like frozen.
Oh, yeah. He's frozen. Yeah.
Oh, man. I do miss Nashville, though.
How about that OKC Thunder, huh?
Oh, right. I was actually going to ask you about those Nashville Sounds. I used to love going to those games at was it First Tennessee Park or something like that? I used to go to those games when Matt Olson was on the team, who's now the first baseman for the Braves, which is like cool to see that. Are they still the A's affiliates? Do you know?
I think they're the Reds affiliate, honestly. But it's one of those things where yes, Piles, our finisher, GCW got him. They didn't like what he was saying.
Lauderdale was watching and just zapped him.
Damn you, Brett. No, it's honestly, it's just one of those things where you go to the games, you go to the outfield, and you go there to party and just hang out.
Yes,
and maybe get paid attention to the baseball.
Yes, they have some of the best stuff, like that outfield bar, and like they have like cornhole and a whole bunch. I recommend anybody who visits Nashville go to a Sounds game. It's like a 10,000 seat stadium. They do really good business out there. There's something else I was going to mention, but Jeremy's been.
And if you're there the first Sunday of the month, we're in left field because that's where the Brooklyn Bowl is.
Oh, right. So, and that was I meant to bring that up because there was one time I ever met Jeff Jarrett. It was at the Nashville Fairgrounds outside of the NWA 70th anniversary show. And I just happened to, like, the show was over. I was there late, like interviewing or whatever. And I just like crossed paths with him in the parking lot. And he was like one of the nicest guys ever. I was like, this guy is, I've always just praised Jeff Jarrett ever since then. But the main thing I asked him, I was like, why don't you, like the NWA or anything he was involved with, I was like, why don't you guys run the Sound Stadium? I was like, that just seems like such a slam dunk. And of course, he said like there was this reason or that reason they didn't do it at the time. But I was like, this just seems like such a no-brainer because the stadium is so great and people like going there already. So
a lot of it comes down to money. And if you're gonna run it, you got to fill it. So you can't be just, hey, we're just live pro wrestling, come see it and throw on 5 names. Like, no, you've got to have a following. So, we'd love for someday to be running the Sound Stadium as the actual stadium.
Sure.
But it's, like anything, you got to build it.
Yeah.
GCW cut out my internet. They were offended that I was mad that they didn't have a website. But my point was GCW does not have a website. And that kind of baffles me I guess it's their thing, they're counterculture and they just, everything's on social media, but I'm just like, you just put out a website. Let people know when you're running. Let people know your upcoming events.
I don't begrudge anyone for not doing any of these things because if whatever they're doing is working, they'll stick with it. And obviously what GCW does with its social media, 100% working. We'd kill to have their attention. But yeah, it's like we came from the perspective of, one of us worked in live events for a decade. One of us covered wrestling for a decade. One of us worked at Disney theme parks for years. And that one actually wound up building the website. Like our idea is just full coverage. So we want the local media to know about who the hell we are. We want wrestling media to know who the hell we are. We want flyers papered all over town. We bought ads for billboards that run electronically throughout the city. Like we don't want the excuse to be that people didn't know we were happening. So we're going to attack it from all angles and then see where it goes.
I respect it. Send me all the press releases that you have. Send me the results after the show. I'll make sure everything gets run. Anything we can do to help out and get it out there. Because I know that is half the battle is in a wrestling space where the top 2 companies take up so much time and energy that like trying to find a little sliver in all of that is very difficult. So I don't begrudge just how difficult that is for a new company with everything.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. If I know obviously your June 1st show is coming up really soon, but like in the future leading up to other shows, if you got any talent that you want to come on to talk about the show, we'll have people on. So just, give us a heads up and we'll help promote it however we can. Absolutely.
Hell yeah. We got June 1st, July 6th, August 3rd are our first 3. And hopefully we might have some other stuff to announce in the near future.
We got this show. I got the morning show every weekday now. I'm dumb and decided to do it every single weekday instead of 3 days a week. So always got spots. If you ever want to come on or you got talent to come on to promote things. And I'm going to continue. I know we talked about this off air, so I'm not bringing up anything that you're not expecting. I want a job. I want the pencil at some point. I want to get my ideas out there.
I'll listen to your ideas, Jeremy, whatever you got.
You're just going to laugh at them and think they're insane, which is fair, honestly. But I told you the idea, my John Moxley and Gabe Kidd idea, which is
just terrifying because I love Hangman and I don't want to see such disaster befall him. And I was in that stadium for the Cody Roman first match. I don't need the oxygen sucked out of the room like that again.
Yeah, no one needs any of that ever
I'm
again.
trying to bring riots back to pro wrestling, Connor.
John Cena's trying his best, and it's not working.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
not
it
doing it
isn't.
well. That's the problem. He's not actually doing that well. I'm gonna make sure we get these riots back in wrestling. Connor, again, promote the show, let everybody know when it's coming on, and get everything out there that you need to get.
For sure. We are running this Sunday, June 1st at the Brooklyn Bowl. It is Pro Wrestling Symphony. You can follow us on all the social medias at PW Symphony Live. You can check us out on our website at pwsymphony.com. If you want tickets, check out the website. Check out the links on social. Check out Ticketmaster. Check out Brooklyn Bowl Nashville's website. Starts at 2 p.m. Central, runs till 4. If you've been drinking all weekend and you want to change things up, come out to the show. If you want to bring the kids, hey, this isn't a night show, so you can actually bring them out and get home at a decent time. If you just want some fun wrestling action with your brunch, you can check this one out. We've still got a few ringside tickets left, plenty of GA, a few VIP box seats left. Those come with drink service and the best seats in the house. Where else are you going to find something like that? Check us out, Pro Wrestling Symphony. This will not be the last time you've heard from me on this website. I'm sure you'll be hearing this name plenty, but we're really excited to build something special. Nashville deserves a great professional wrestling promotion, and we're here to provide it.
There you go.
Awesome.
We appreciate you, Connor.
Thanks, Connor. Good seeing you, man.
There you go. Connor Casey, everybody. He's been on the channel many times in the past. Good to speak to him again. I'm proud of what Connor is doing in the actual wrestling space with things, because he covered it for the longest time. I think people might remember him from comic book more than anything, but he did a great job covering it, and now to be involved the way he is, it's really cool to see. So good on Connor. Everyone check out Pro Wrestling Symphony if you're in the Nashville area this weekend, and if you're not, check out their socials, check out their website, and I'm sure we'll have results from the show on Fightful on Sunday. Jensen, how you been? How was your birthday?
It was good. Thank you. Went to the casino, lost some money, but it was a fun time.
What did you gamble on, dare I ask?
Mainly roulette. Mainly.
Oh,
I was doing good, then it went bad. I was up like 300, then left down a bit.
You don't do good in roulette, right? Like it's just.
Well, I mean, it's all luck. Yeah, but I mean,
saying.
I'm playing. It's kind of hard to explain, but I go on these kiosks that have live dealers, and I play multiple games at once usually. So I'll be playing like roulette and blackjack at the same time. So depending on how blackjack's going is usually how long I'll wind up playing roulette also. And then there's the sports book, which I just, throw. The thing I do at the sports book at the casino that I don't normally do is I'll bet on like random sports in like other countries that I have nothing about, but I'll just take like, crazy odds on stuff and just like hope it hits, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I had a really bad beat on one where, if you're familiar with, I don't know what his first name is, Duran from the Red Sox. I had a 6-leg parlay. Yeah. I had a 6-leg parlay that included him, and all the players that I had needed to get 1.5 hits or more. So you need 2 hits to win per each person. I got 5 out of 6. He's the only one who didn't hit. I would have won $3,400. If you would have gotten one more hit, it would have been $3,400. It was frustrating. Also, I went to Medieval Times for my birthday. I don't know if I told you about that at all.
You mentioned you were going there. You said you were going to bet on the Medieval Times.
Yeah, so the way it didn't work out how I thought it would for that, because when you get there, I didn't realize that they assign you, like, where they seat you is like that's the guy you're cheering for. So like we were in the Red Knight section, so I automatically had to cheer for the Red Knight. If I'm being completely honest, looking at the lineup, I would not have bet on the Red Knight, nor did the Red Knight win, so I would have lost money had I bet on my guy. I did buy the most giant and expensive sword that they had. It's like this light up sword that's like absolutely just obnoxious. I bought it as like a souvenir for my birthday because like the people that I went with covered the actual ticket, like it was like a birthday thing. But like the food was good. They make you eat with your hands, which is funny. Oh, let's go. We got a special guest, everybody. We'll get back to my birthday in a second. I got someone jumping on real quick because it was a big week for this guy.
Oh, I didn't know you could add them. Sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah. No, somehow I can't. Somehow I can control certain stuff, but I'm not logged in as Fightful. It's the weirdest thing. Anyways, I didn't even tell Jeremy about this. This was a last-second Hail Mary to see if we can get Mose on here for a few minutes. John Mosley, how's it been, man?
Boom! What's up, dudes?
How was last weekend?
Amazing. Probably the greatest weekend ever, if I'm being totally honest.
Dude, hey, okay, Jeremy, hit the bumper real quick. We're just gonna start Indie Spotlight because it was gonna be Action Dean anyway, so this is perfect.
All right, one second. I gotta find the bumper. Okay, here we go.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Okay, so our Indie Spotlight we usually do the show, but it was going to be talking about Action Dean, and since we can get Mose right here, right now, on the spot, might as well do it now. Dude, okay, so I actually got to watch the show today. I've been like keeping up with, the happenings around it, but today during the shoot job, I watched the entire show, and I hadn't been on social media much. As you know, it was my birthday. Thank you for the birthday wishes the other day. I've been kind of disconnected. I didn't know. I assumed, but I didn't know for sure that you and Dylan were going to be on commentary for that. So congratulations on doing commentary for that show. That's humongous. Basically, AEW ROH talent, John Mosley here in the house now. So what was that
technically Ring of Honor sponsored, but yeah, I'm wearing this shirt now.
Oh man,
when are you getting the graphic? That's what I want to know. Is when's Tony going to tweet? You got to get it before RJ City. That's all that matters. Get it before RJ City.
I would not hold my breath on that, but I agree. I would love to see that graphic myself.
Oh man, what was that whole experience like? Like, I mean, so many moments. I mean, Danielson shows up, epic. Danielson does a shout out to Mad Dog Connolly in the middle of the ring, and I'm like, this is like bizarre. That
called
this is
Adam
happening
Priest,
right now.
the greatest independent wrestler in the U.S.
Right.
I didn't even get there yet, Jeremy, but yes, he did. It's okay. It's okay. We both watched. It's okay. Yeah, right. How was it not only to obviously be a part of it yourself, but seeing like so many people, because you're getting recognition. I saw on your social media, people have been blowing you up over it. And now like all like the homies that like, you're calling matches for consistently, or it seems like just a lot of buzz right now, a lot more eyes on people. Just that, what's it all been like, man? It's just super, super cool from the outside looking in.
I mean, same. Like I didn't know a lot going in what to expect. I got to shout out Matt and like the whole crew. I know Phil and Eric and just like everybody that really, spoke up for me. This feels like it would have been really easy, to just use maybe people underneath their band or that umbrella. So I was kind of like, as kind of progressing, I was like in the know, but it was more of like the active family. So my plan was, no matter what, I was if I was buying my own ticket, I was going to out because it wasn't heard so many stories from Dylan, met so many amazing people. Dean really, really, really affected. So I was nervous about Dean. One, knew what it meant, and as cool stuff has kind of come in my path the last 4 years. But it always, it's never lost on me how blessed I am to be in that position. I was going to go no matter what, and then the word came in, not too long before the announcement that, like they didn't know what, but me and Dylan were doing something in commentary. I didn't know. And once we're on the flight, we're out there, we're landing, day up.
Is Moses' audio cutting out for you, Jeremy?
Yeah, Moses, your mic is.
I
don't even know if he can.
I don't know if it's a connection or if his hand's over the mic.
Yeah.
Shout out to Marriott by the airport. We just did notes, man. Hit it hard, got there, and it was just a dream come true. Like being around people I've looked up to, people I'm just a fan of. people knowing my name, people I never thought in a million years would know who I am, you know, had nice things to say. And they were just, I mean, as welcoming as it gets. Like, we were treated like, you know, we were bucks or something, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the whole time, Saturday we did the show, but then Sunday we got to hang.
Oh no, it's cutting out again.
I don't think he can hear us at all either.
Different experience, completely calling it. We called that. It wasn't right there, you know, by the ring or anything. So I was kind of nervous about that. He said the setup, the goal going out there was to let Dylan Hells cook, because, you know, Dylan knew Dean. Dylan is the man. So I just wanted to be the best big man I could be, get some good stuff in, but really, really let, you know,
Trying to read his lips. Trying to get his attention. And I don't know if you can hear me, Mo. The audio is kind of cutting in and out a bit. I don't know if it's a connection or if your hand's on like the mic. I don't know if you can hear me at all.
I don't know if he can hear us at all.
Oh no. Well, let me.
We're gonna have to get Mose on proper when he's got time.
Let me. Yeah, I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah.
I'll try to DM him, let him know. But
All
we'll move him. Mose, I love you. We're only removing you off the screen because I don't think you can hear us. Give me. I don't know if you can hear me.
Shoot him a message.
Yeah, I'm sending.
Mose, we appreciate you.
Sorry, let me send him a message real quick.
I like the surprise, Jensen. That was a good attempt, and we got a little bit out of him. We're gonna have to get him on proper when he can hang out with us.
Yeah.
Is he on? He's. I don't know if he's on the farm. He's on the beet farm. We see if Dwight is out there with him, and I feel like he heard that because he's smiling. So maybe he heard as I'm joking around here.
Oh, is it? Can he hear us? Oh, we're still on screen. I'm like DMing him. I forgot.
Hey, he says he can. He says he can hear. You couldn't hear us for a while.
Oh yeah, there was a second there that it was like completely out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I hear you totally fine.
Oh, your audio was cutting in and out, and like we were trying to get your attention, and you were not reacting to us at all.
No, yeah, literally, I heard Jensen say one word, and then it went out, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh no. Well, I mean, I caught the most of what you said. Just it was kind of cutting out at certain points where I think you were saying probably really nice things about like Dylan and stuff. So I don't think we got all of it, unfortunately. But I think it's the gist for the most part. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Do you want to come? The KOBK show is this June 1st, right?
Yeah, Sunday.
Okay, your connection seems to be a bit better now. Try this for a little bit longer if it's still working. Promote that, please. I talked about the card on the Weekender on Sunday. I pulled up what you had on social media and gave preview and predictions. But what can people expect out of this KOBK show? Because I always, of course, look forward to these.
Yeah, 6 matches, unless something changes day of. Heavy hitting stuff, fun stuff, couple of bars. You know, it's at Duke's Indy, who's been amazing, like so amazing to us. We've got a band playing Wet Denim is the name of the band, Wet Denim Fire Band. We posted, Sean Campbell chopped up a little kind of promo video. We posted a little bit on social media, and that was, you know, the band in that. So we have a band playing before. Show starts at 6 p.m. Indianapolis, Indiana time. We normally do afternoon shows at Duke, so this will be our first kind of evening. Again, just crazy fun, which you can expect. I know we're doing like Brett Eisen versus Anakin Murphy. I believe that's the first time ever. Luther X, Gary J. That's the first time ever. Casey Owens versus Tyler Lytle, half of the original Sins, one of the best tag teams in the Midwest. Tyler's partner, Mean Dick Michaels, is banged up. So Tyler said, I want to do a singles match. I'm going to pull up. So we got Casey. You've got Hardway Heater, who has a problem with everything. And I can confirm that. He's going to have some words. And then we got the Natter Day Saints. We got Brad and Slade against Big Dave, Sean Campbell. Finesse will be up there with Nick Iggy. Nick Iggy, of course, known in the Indianapolis area from so many very cool promotions in there. Of course, is Carniness, I guess. Iggy's back versus Finesse. And we've got Jamison Shook versus Hoodfoot, who just went to war for IC Dub, like deathmatch style. They'll be back in a bar ring setting, so something different that setting, but still a lot of fun. So yeah, 6 crazy matches. We're gonna have plenty of drinks, cool band, and yeah, Duke's Indy, Indianapolis, Indiana, June 1st this Sunday.
I'm looking forward to that. Is it gonna be airing anywhere? Like where can I watch the show or get clips and highlights?
So we'll film it Sunday, and then Sean Campbell does everything. He's a great wrestler. Does a lot of, all of our editing, all of our graphics, everything, KOBK we do in house. So Sean does such a great job. And then I want to shout out Ash, Twitter is Twitter, great videographer in the Midwest. Literally and for us, filmed in the afternoon, and I've had everything for the most part ready to edit in the morning. Like everything's there. Sean can get going. So we're hoping film Sunday, and if we don't do a premiere, if we just drop it on IWTV, we're hoping within a week. I want to say a day for sure, and Sean feel like, but within 5 to 7 days for sure, we're gonna have this out. Normally, I want to say he's got it just edited within 2-3 days, so pretty quick.
Awesome. Well, I will keep a lookout for that. We'll promote it however I can. Whenever you have the results, if you want to send them our way, we'll get them up there on the website and stuff. Jeremy does great with that. I just try to relay stuff the best that I can, and then Jeremy gets the stuff up on the site. So, and then we'll catch up maybe like next week or the week after or something. After the show goes down, we'll set something up. And I appreciate you jumping on short notice. I know you have the worst internet connection of all time. We've gone through that many times with you out where you live. So, but thanks for joining us, Mose.
Yeah.
I'll hit
Appreciate
you up.
You guys.
Dean
2.
Appreciate you, Mose. Dean 2's on the ROH YouTube channel.
Thank you guys for Dean 2.
Everyone go check it out.
Oh man, Mose is the man. I appreciate him jumping on late notice like that.
So I saw he was somebody posted it might have been him, honestly, but he posted the photo of backstage at like Double or Nothing. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I didn't know he was doing commentary until I watched the show, obviously, because it didn't air live. And then I turned on the show. I was like, shit, I know those voices. Like this rules. Like this is great that they got Dylan and Mose to do commentary for this. So yeah, that was really cool that they got to do that, and it was cool to hear it. And it was a good show. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit more, but it was a really good show. And the main event between Conley and Priest, I love that Bryan Danielson put them over before the match, and then they went out there and had a hell of a match. And I hope it gets more attention on Conley and Priest, and hopefully it leads to bigger things. We've had both guys on the show before, and you especially have praised the hell out of both of them, and I hope it leads to bigger things for both of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I thought it was so cool, us both mentioning how Danielson shouted both those guys out by name, while also, of course, like paying tribute to like his hero, Blue Panther. He's like, just kind of it just wild. The whole we don't need to talk about the whole show too much. I know we have other topics to get to and stuff, but like I just think that the entire concept of the Dean events, it's unironically, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. Like for people who don't know, like kind of the back history of this stuff, and I'm not the best to really dissect it or explain it either, because I know of a lot of this stuff retroactively, but like to my understanding, Dean Rasmussen is basically the guy who founded the Death Valley Driver review forums, which are notorious. Like a lot of people came from those forums back in the day. guys like Tony Khan, for instance, were avid users of that forum. David Bixenspan, Dylan Hales, like a lot of people that, Jonathan Snowden. There's a lot of people that you probably know of in like wrestling media or wrestling journalism, and a lot of them use that DVD forum. But also, like, Dean was really known for like a love of like obscure wrestling, whereas like most people were talking about like major wrestling promotions. He was the one talking about like the subculture and like the lower card wrestlers, or like the obscure wrestlers, or that kind of stuff, and was always just very, very positive about professional wrestling. And that's why he's got the reputation he has. That's why so many people want to be involved with these Dean events. That's why I got like Tony Khan is putting these on, and it's also beautiful because they're free tickets. Like, you don't even have to pay to go to the show. So it's like really it's a congregation of wrestling fans who are there for the love of wrestling and celebrating a guy who opened a lot of people's eyes to different types of wrestling. And that's how they try to formulate the card also, where you have, a dog collar match, you got a Cybernetico, 10-person match, you've got a little bit of everything. You got a tag team match, you got a mix of styles and all this stuff. So I just think it's a really, really cool thing that they're doing. I thought it was awesome when they did it last year for the Collective, for Action Wrestling. That show had a lot of buzz. I think it's super cool that Tony Khan, got involved, and he's using, he got all the money in the world. So it's really cool that he wants to spend his time and money and put on a free show for real wrestling fans. And they're also going to be doing another one. I think they're doing the ECW Arena for the next one. From what I understand. So yeah,
that's their plan, because they're doing the residency at the ECW Arena for about 4 weeks, I think, later on this year. And the plan is to hold a Dean show either before the residency kicks off or in the middle of the residency, but at some point around the residency.
That makes perfect sense. So Tony Khan has he's a polarizing figure who has people have very strong opinions about all that come from all over the place. I've always strongly maintained that he's one of us. And by one of us, I mean, he is a lifelong hardcore fan of professional wrestling. He's unlike me because he has access to $1 billion. In that way, he's different than a lot of us, obviously. But at the core of his being, you hear stories about this guy all the time. Like he had to get good grades in school so that his dad would take him to an ECW show when he was a kid and stuff like that. So for all the things that people can say about like AEW's booking or this and that, by the way, we're going to get to AEW, and I think that they're actually cooking pretty hard right now. I actually really like what AEW is doing. I think they're really turning the corner a lot of ways, honestly, right now, in a good way. But for every negative comment someone might have about a Tony Khan booking decision, just remember at the core of it, he's a guy who is spending his time, fantasy booking on wrestling forums, just like you are right now on Twitter. You know what I mean? So yeah, really, really cool. Then on top of that, as you mentioned, some really good matches. The dog collar match was awesome, and it was short and sweet. It was like less than 10 minutes long. They beat the hell out of each other. The finish made sense. He got choked out. Priest got choked out by the dog collar. Mad Dog Connolly is one of the most believable wrestlers on the planet. As Boston Nuga has said, and I think even when we interviewed him, we talked about, he gives you the most uncomfortable feeling in a good way of like any wrestler alive right now. He enters the building and it's just a completely different vibe. You had Matt Mako challenging for the ROH Pure Championship against Lee Moriarty, which is super cool. We've had Mako on the show a few times. I actually was DMing with him earlier today about something, but he's really trying to get that CM Punk match, and I love it.
Oh yeah, we had him on in the weeds a couple days before the Moriarty match. I think he was on like Tuesday before the Moriarty match, and we were talking about that a little bit because we played a partner promo punch in the face, and I was like, I'm not gonna give you CM Punk because I already know you want to punch him in the face, so I'll throw some other names out there. But yeah,
well, it's funny. He DM'd me something about CM Punk, and then I DM'd him. I went on Instagram and I just randomly looked and I saw CM Punk's Instagram story had the lyrics Weapon X in that he posted, and I was like, Matt, you're Weapon X, right? Like, I'm just saying, maybe it's happening. We're really trying to will this into the world. But anyway, the reason I brought up Matt Mako really is because it's really cool that he was the choice for the opponent of Moriarty, because obviously that's a big spot to be in. Tony Khan's clearly like he's handpicking like who's going to be wrestling his champion on the show, and to have that kind of faith in Mako, I feel like it goes a long way, because he's a guy who I think totally would fit in Ring of Honor on a regular basis, or anywhere else for that matter, because y'all know how much of a fan of his I am. But it's just cool that he was in that spot. He had a great match with Moriarty. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier too, like Danielson being on the show, just super cool. It's cool seeing extra eyes and like more of a spotlight on a lot of the wrestlers, like we were saying with Moe's and stuff that like we cover on a regular basis, but it's a different level when you're part of a Ring of Honor AEW production, really, just really, really cool. And shout out to Action Wrestling, obviously, for like founding the whole thing and obviously being heavily involved in it, obviously.
Yeah, again, guys, you can watch that on the ROH YouTube. It's up there now. Go check it out. Free wrestling. It was a long weekend, but if you got some downtime, it was really good stuff. And it was a cool show the first time they did it a couple years ago, and we of course had Matt Griffin on talking about that. And everything and how a lot of that came together. And, it was cool that Tony Khan is now involved and wants to continue to pay tribute to a message board that he grew up with and made friends from and stayed involved with by now running a wrestling company. So go check that out. ROH YouTube, if you would like to watch the pro wrestling. All right, let's get into AEW.
Sorry, one last thing. I apologize, Jeremy. One last thing that's indie related, and it has to do with press releases. I can get one if we need it, but did you guys do a press release on 1FW by chance for Center Stage for Atlanta?
Not if I wasn't.
I'll try to get something if they still want something out there from us. So when I was on my vacation, our good friend Jack Jameson reached out and said, so I was in the know about this already. I just got my mouth shut about it. But I'd known for a minute that they were planning to run a Center Stage show at some point in the near future. And they officially announced it the other day that they are going to run Center Stage. QT Marshall basically runs 1FW for people who don't know. And they're going to have MJF at the show. Obviously, that's a big deal. I don't think he's going to wrestle, but he'll be there live doing it. So they'll have like some sort of AEW involvement. So if you're in the Atlanta, Georgia area, I think the show is at like the end of July, but they are going to be running Center Stage, and I'll talk to you off stream about it, but he gave me a list of talent we can interview over the next couple of months to promote the show for that too. So it's a pretty cool name. We're pretty much all people we haven't interviewed before outside of Jameson. So anyways, keep your eyes out for that. And it just reminded me, we were talking to Connor. I was like, I totally could have gotten a press release over to Fightful about that Center Stage show, but I was literally at the casino when it happened. I just, but anyway.
No, all good.
That's all I've got about that.
Okay. I'll be on the lookout for it, or I'll message Jameson and get something going as well. All right, let's get into AEW.
Over 1 million fans and a great number in the demo tuned in. And it was a great show, and I think it's been a run of great shows.
AEW Double or Nothing was this past weekend, and it closed with Hangman Page winning the Owen Hart tournament, men's tournament, defeating Will Ospreay in the finals to set up Hangman and Jon Moxley at AEW All In. There's also a segment last night on Dynamite where Swerve confronted Hangman and said, did you have anything to do with me not beating Moxley at Dynasty because of what the Young Bucks said? And Hangman said, if I had something to do with it, I would have done it to your face. I would have looked you in the eyes and I would have cost you myself, not use them. Will Ospreay wanted to get Swerve and Hangman on the same page, and Swerve said no. And he was not feeling that idea at all. But let's go back to Double or Nothing. How did you feel about Hangman Page winning the Owen Hart Men's Foundation tournament?
I think it was the right choice. Not necessarily that like Ospreay's arguably the best in-ring wrestler in the world right now. I just think that the storyline calls more for Hangman to be this guy and for Hangman to be the one to defeat Jon Moxley for this title. I also think it opens up the world title scene so much more for Hangman to have that title than Jon Moxley. Like, so if we can just get to All In and Hangman just beats Moxley and gets that title, I think that puts AEW in the best position it's been in years, honestly, if you get to that point, because you can do it the right way and he wins the title and the fans are still really behind him, which I have no reason to believe that they won't be at this point. They've stuck with Hangman this far and he's still this over. Because the thing is like, if he wins the title, just based on the guys we saw in the ring last night, I mean, you have him and Swerve built in whenever you want to do it based on their history. Him and Ospreay built in already because of their history. You have guys like Ricochet who are doing like the best work of their career right now that at any point can be right there in that mix with those guys. You have Kyle Fletcher who has history with Will Ospreay and some of these guys at the top. Darby Allin has a long history with Swerve especially, but he's got a history with a lot of these guys that we're talking about at the top of the card also. You have Kenny Omega with history with all these guys. Like, so you have it just, the possibilities almost become endless when you look at it as Hangman winning the title, taking down Jon Moxley, and the list of feuds that are sitting right there ready to go that all would be not only great feuds that would make sense, but would all have awesome payoff matches because everyone I mentioned is also a great in-ring wrestler. So like, that's what I want to see. You know, I think at the beginning of the Death Riders storyline, it was all set up for Darby Allin to be that guy. We've talked about that plenty. I don't think that's the case anymore because he hasn't been there. Even storyline wise, it could be held against him. We all know he's climbing Everest and all that stuff. But if you were to turn him heel, which I'm not necessarily advocating for, it can be used against him in storyline. Like when the going got tough, you literally disappeared from the company for like half a year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whereas Hangman has been here and trying to do this and win the title and take down Moxley, and the same for guys like Ospreay and stuff and Swerve, who were there this whole time and fighting this whole time, whereas Darby just disappeared. So there's a lot of layers to a lot of this stuff. But I think where we are right now, I didn't even mention like Ospreay versus Hangman. I thought was fantastic. Like the actual match was, I don't give stars, but like it'd be essentially a perfect match if I did. I mean, it was an awesome match. So, I think the right guy won. I like that they showed each other respect after the match. And I really like the tease that you mentioned that we saw yesterday of Ospreay, Swerve, and Hangman all in the ring together, because I think those are going to be probably your three major players in the world title scene in the immediate future once Hangman gets that title. So I think the future is incredibly bright for AEW. We'll talk about Anarchy in the arena in a second, but I think that like, I'm not just glazing the company or like literally, like when I look at where they're at right now, where they came from, and what they could potentially do if they make a few of in my opinion, the right moves in the next like few months, this is the best spot they've been in a long time, I think.
Yeah, I think they're firing on a lot of cylinders right now. Like this doesn't even touch on the women's stuff, which
right.
I thought Mercedes and Jamie Hayter was great. And I thought that promo segment last night with Mercedes and Toni Storm was fantastic. Now you've introduced Thekla into the mix and she immediately goes into something with Jamie Hayter. You just did the tag team match. You did the one match at Double or Nothing and then ran it back. No DQ here. Like they got a lot of good stuff going overall. As far as Hangman and Moxley goes, it feels like you got to put this title on Hangman at All In. So I was joking earlier, one of my booking ideas, which you didn't even hear, by the way, but you heard Connor mention WrestleMania 39, so you might know how this plays. But I got grander ideas than just what happened at WrestleMania 39. So it's Hangman Page, it's Jon Moxley, it's All In. The Bucks come out during the match. And then Ospreay and Swerve come out to cut them off. So it's like the Usos getting cut off by Sami and Kevin, right? Hangman in all this mix up and all this stuff going on, the referee's trying to get control of everything. Hangman hits the buckshot lariat, and everybody gets cleared out. Hangman pins 1, 2, 3. He's celebrating with the title. He hit the buckshot lariat on Gabe Kidd. He didn't realize it was Gabe Kidd because he looks just like Jon Moxley. And the referee sees that it's Gabe Kidd. And he's like, "Oh, no. Sorry, you didn't. No. You pinned the wrong person.
It's Eric Angle."
Jack Perry comes out with his hoodie, and he hits Hangman with a spike. A legit spike, not a Samoan spike with the thumb. A legit spike. He hits
Real
Hangman.
Spike, Crimea River.
Yeah, hits him with a spike. And then Jon Moxley pins Hangman Page. That's my big idea for All In. Bringing back real riots out here in wrestling. You want real heat, not this fake heat where everybody gets a "this is awesome" chant and a "you deserve it" chant. You want real heat? I brought it to you right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I hate pretty much everything about that whole idea. And I think if you were to do that, it's going to turn a lot of people off that were like are riding there with AEW, and then that would happen. They'd be like, yeah, I think I'm good on bailing again. It's interesting that you're so married to this idea of Jack Perry being involved in this. You bring up Jack Perry almost always when we talk about the Death Riders of like,
because Jon Moxley said he's a good kid. I'm sorry for thinking that was going to lead to something.
No, sure. No, I know. I know. I'm just saying, like, it's so strange the position he's even in, because to me, he's just like so out of sight, out of mind, because he hasn't been on TV. I don't know. My thing is, I don't see a need for, I know I'm not alone. I don't see a need for the Death Rider story to continue beyond All In. So like to add Jack Perry in, I feel it would be a really bad idea because it would extend this whole thing even longer. So yeah, I don't want that to happen really at all. But we are in agreement though, for real though, that Hangman there's pretty much no reason for Hangman not to win at this point.
Yeah, I think legitimately Hangman should win. If I'm not just throwing out wacky booking ideas to pop myself, I'm looking at it objectively as a fan. Hangman Page should win, and I thought he should beat Will Ospreay. I know people were back and forth on who they thought should win that match. I was 100% thinking that Hangman Page should win that match because I think he should be the one to dethrone Jon Moxley. So we'll see. Darby Allin is still out there somewhere, potentially waiting in the wings and potentially being the guy who maybe gets to Moxley first or is the guy who does dethrone Jon Moxley. But I don't feel like they can miss with Hangman Page here. There's too much of a connection with Hangman and the audience to mess this up. You just got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. The only other person I would say, like, and I'm not advocating for this, but like if they turn to Darby, he's the only other person I could see, like, if he actually wound up ultimately joining Moxley after all of this. But I think that'd be a really, really bad idea. Because I don't know who else is like really tied to this story that would even make any sense. But there was one other thing I was going to mention, but I don't think it was very important about this storyline. Yeah. Anyway,
Anarchy in the Arena. We mentioned it a little bit, but the team AEW won with Swerve Strickland and Kenny Omega kind of being victorious with the One-Winged Angel through the exploding table and the Swerve Stomp with the thumbtack shoes onto the Young Bucks. The Death Riders got trapped in an ambulance. Mark Briscoe was there. Gabe Kidd was there. Bodies hit the floor. What'd you make of all this anarchy, Jensen?
So the actual match was pretty awesome. There was a lot of great spots in this one. And you went through some of them just now, but like there was so much that happened in this match. The beginning of it with the
most disgusting spot. It gets me every time when they chained Willow's earlobe.
The ear,
that spot gets me every single time. Like when they do it to Jeff Hardy, it looks gnarly. Yeah. Doing it to her, it looked gnarly. Willow was the star of this thing, by the way. Like she ruled in this match. Go ahead.
Yeah, Willow's awesome. I was going to mention a second ago is like I didn't even mention MJF as far as like other guys in that mix that like, you know, it's crazy. They got so much talent, huh?
I say he doesn't wrestle.
He hasn't been wrestling, which has been that's a whole other conversation in itself. The whole Hurt Business thing, Hurt Syndicate. I'm sorry, but yeah, no, Willow, absolutely. She's a star. I love Willow. She's great. I like the gear with like the overalls too. I thought she looked like that's very toyetic. Like I want an action figure of that exact, you know, of her from that night. Like they should definitely make that. Jerry Pitauer, if you happen to be listening, I'd love one of those. The beginning of this match, like I did think it was strange. Obviously, like the founding fathers, the Young Bucks come out, and there you got like the flute music playing throughout the beginning of the match, which I thought was a very interesting choice. And then it transitioned over to what I can't remember what song was next before they did hit the body.
They did. I'm so excited by the Pointer Sisters because that was the theme song for Dynamite for 1 week before everyone complained loudly that this song does not fit Dynamite, and so Tony never used it again. But clearly he has the rights to it and decided I'm going to get some type of money out of this song, right. Some type of use out of this song.
Yeah. But then it was kind of, you know, it was funny and it was like goofy, but like not in necessarily a bad way. How they did, like Kenny Omega grabbing the microphone and being like, "Play that shit," and then like that song is great for fight scenes. It gets your adrenaline going. But like the first thing I think of is like Stephanie McMahon, WWECW. Like it's funny because like my connection in wrestling to that song is like it's like WWE related. So that was kind of weird. And then also I tweeted about it, but it always reminds me of. Have you ever seen the movie Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald and Artie Lang?
I saw it probably one time, many moons ago. I have no recollection of it.
I've probably referenced it before on the show, but there's a scene. So. There's a scene in that movie where Norm and Artie are about to get in a bar fight with like an entire fraternity, and Chris Farley is in the bar and he's next to the jukebox, and he's like, some guy comes up to him next to the jukebox and he's like, "Oh man, there's a fight about to break out. Better play something good." And so Chris Farley's like, "Oh yeah, street fighting, man. Rolling Stones, G7," and like hits G8 on accident. So like, if you love pina coladas, like that song is playing in the background as these guys are just beating the shit out of each other in this bar. It just reminds me of that. Like if Kenny Omega would have been like, "Play that shit," and then it was like some like slow song, it would have been straight out of Dirty Work. The fact that they played Drowning Pool like 3 times in a row was kind of funny. Like they just kept running the song over and over again. It would have been nice maybe to like mix it up and have like a whole playlist of like 5 different songs. But the way that they cut the music was fun because Claudio does the big swing into the speaker. Even though it's
I thought that ruled.
It's funny. It did. It's funny because like the idea is preposterous that is the one thing controlling all the music in the building. But I do appreciate what they went for there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this match was awesome, and the right team won. Like I thought it was the right thing to do to have the baby faces win here. It was pretty clear to me that the Mark Briscoe spot was probably meant for Eddie Kingston, but I don't think Eddie is ready yet. But it was pretty cool seeing Mark come out just covered in blood from the Ricochet match still, and help out the baby faces. So, you know, I got nothing against Mark, obviously. It just seemed pretty clear that like if Eddie was ready, that would have been Eddie's return, I think. But yeah.
It was a cool visual. I didn't love that Mark Briscoe was not taken to the hospital after that violent
yeah
match.
It seems a little irresponsible of the AEW whatever you go medics. So,
yeah, he just was like, I'm fine, let me just come out and do flips off of the ramp here. So I wish they would have put more into selling the stretcher match. But then I wish they would have. I know guys were banged up coming out of the event and everything, but I wish like Moxley and Mark Briscoe didn't wrestle on Dynamite because of the Anarchy in the Arena match and the stretcher match of like just selling how violent that was instead of they'll just wrestle again on the next show. I wish they would have given them the week off to sell the effects of how just violent and hard hitting that match was.
Yes. Give me just 1 second. I gotta walk away just because my earbud is almost out of power, so I need to switch to a actual headset.
Okay.
I gotta walk, but it's on the other side of the room. I'll be right back in a second.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna go to WWE, and I will set up the WWE spotlight.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Seth Rollins has a new group. I will save the Cody talk. New group. Bronson Reed has now been added. The group came together right after WrestleMania with Braun Breaker. Now Bronson Reed is part of Seth Rollins' group with a new vision. He wants total power of the company. He qualified for Money in the Bank on Raw, and it did not explain why Bronson Reed and Seth Rollins are working together after Bronson Reed was the better part of 2024 trying to kill Seth Rollins, but now they're releasing the group. What do you make of Bronson Reed added to Seth?
Sorry, I gotta change my settings so I can hear you.
Okay. As Jensen looks puzzled as he tries to figure out how to change his headphone settings on his computer here. So Paul Heyman cut this promo and talked about how Bronson Reed is a deadly man, a violent man, and how nobody wants to stand in his way. And Braun Breaker is going to not only headline WrestleMania next year and the year after and the year after and the year after. He is the future of the business. And Seth Rollins brought it all together and surrounded himself with people who are aligned with his thoughts and feelings as they try to take control of WWE. And part of taking control, first step will be the Money in the Bank briefcase. Second step will likely be the World Heavyweight Championship. Jensen, have you figured out your
headphones? They just straight up weren't working, but now, okay, now I can barely hear you. I just need to turn up this here. Say something real quick, Jeremy.
Hello.
Do it
Can
again.
you hear me?
Say it again.
Can you hear me, Jensen?
Oh, okay. It's not even. It's my actual earbud is broken on the left. Okay, I can hear you now on the right earbud. Okay, sorry. I don't know what you were just talking about, but I agree with you, or I strongly disagree. I'm not sure.
I called Cody Rhodes a giant loser. Why was he waited so long to come back to save? I actually haven't gotten into that at all. I was talking about Bronson Reed being added to Seth's group. What were your thoughts on this?
Unexpected. Good addition, though. Not to sound... I don't know how else to put this. Not to sound... Y'all know where I'm going with this. I thought, so he was kind of tied to like the bloodline a little bit, Bronson. He was like on their team with like War Games and stuff like that, with the new bloodline and stuff. And I kind of like assumed if he was going to join a group, it would be with those guys because they're just kind of like pairing anyone who kind of seems like they might be from because Jeff Cobb isn't related to that family, obviously, but like he's like an Islander, and they put him in, or looks like an Islander. So like it's like one of those things where like I just kind of thought they were gonna like group Bronson in with them for that same reason, even though he's Australian or from New Zealand or something like that. New Zealand. So, I just kind of assumed that's what they were gonna do because they were kind of already doing that before he got injured. But I was really pleasantly surprised when he wound up actually being a part of this new Seth Rollins group. I think it makes all the sense in the world too, because oh, sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. Bronson Reed's from Australia, not New Zealand. You
It is
were
Australia.
the first time.
Well,
yeah, my fault.
that's an easy mistake to make. That's like even in their accents and their voices, it's very close. Like for me, like just because of the UFC, I can kind of tell the difference sometimes. Like Michael Bisping sounds a little bit different than like Dan Hooker does, for instance, and stuff like that. But like if you didn't know the difference, it sounds very, very similar. Nonetheless, I like Bronson a lot. I think he's very talented. Like for a guy his size, especially the way he can move around. I love the tsunami off the top. And I love that he has that history with Seth Rollins that they're actually talking about. Like they're not just ignoring that. It wasn't that long ago that Bronson was trying to kill Seth out there doing like 10 plus tsunamis on him and stuff like that. Like they even talked about it. I really love the segment on Monday where Heyman went through kind of the reasons it makes sense for all these guys to be aligned. And then Seth like reinforced that by talking about his whole vision of what this group is and why he's doing it and how he's going to win Money in the Bank and all the power that he's going to get from, being able to make the decisions and win the championship when he wants and all that stuff. I think it's all been done really, really well. Because I don't think we really could predict what, like even heading into WrestleMania, and I talk about it all the time, but like I was one of the first people that I know of that was saying like I could totally see Seth Rollins being the one that Heyman aligns with at the end of all of this. But beyond that, I didn't know what the hell that was going to look like. I didn't expect him to necessarily like start his own group and stuff. But the way that things have been coming together, I really, really like it. I love Seth as the star of the group. They're propping up Bronson like he's going to be a WrestleMania main eventer, very soon for years and years at a time. And Bronson, I think, is just, I can't say enough good things about him because how believable does he come across, right? Like he looks like he could kill you. Like he looks strong as hell. Plus he can fly through the air and splat you. Like this dude's awesome. I just wouldn't like jump off the top of a cage again. Like, pick your, and I'm not just him. Edge did the same thing. Adam Copeland did the same thing. Like be a little more careful with some of those spots. I'd say that to a lot of wrestlers, but yeah, a healthy Bronson Reed, I think, is a very valuable asset for the WWE. I think he fits great for the group, and I like the group a lot. And it's a wild card too with Heyman because we're so used to like him and Brock for all those years, him and the Bloodline and Roman for all these years. Him and Seth was a real unknown, but I really like it so far.
I needed a little bit more explanation as to why Bronson Reed would want to align with Seth Rollins after trying to kill him for all of last year. I don't think they touched on that enough.
But didn't bring it up though, the history. They didn't say why he joined, but they did talk about how that happened at least.
Yeah. But then they just ignored that now they're together. Like why after what happened last year would Bronson want to be with Seth? What was the link? Did Seth call him while he was injured and check on him? Like,
right, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I just needed something of like, why would Bronson want to be? Because he was going to be, I know Seth didn't accept Roman's offer to be part of that Bloodline team, but if he did, he was going to be part of that Bloodline team. And Heyman was on the other side of that Bloodline team that Bronson was battling against. So why would Bronson want to align with Seth and Heyman when the last we saw of him, he was against two of the three guys that he is now aligned with?
I think that you might not be that far off about not necessarily Seth calling to check Bronson, but I could see them maybe playing it like Heyman was in contact with Bronson. You know what I mean?
Yes, one, they have to explain that, not just expect us to assume these things or fill in their own logic gaps. But when Bronson came out Saturday night's main event, Seth was the one who embraced him. It wasn't Heyman acted like he had no clue what was going on. So that's why I said Seth and not Heyman, because Heyman was the one that he acted like, oh, what's happening here? Oh, Seth is the mastermind. Seth had the vision. So it would have to be Seth who would have had to call him and explain these things. But again, they got to mention that. They can't just be like, choose your own adventure on why this makes sense.
No, you're right. I'm with you. I'm with you. That makes total sense how you just explained that. So, but no, you're right. They need to, because the way that I saw it was very surface level of just like, at least they're alluding or have directly talked about how there is history between those two. The last time we saw these guys, he was trying to kill Seth Rollins, but they do need to explain what changed between now and then to make Bronson actually want to align with those guys. So I'm right there with you. I'm sure they'll come up with something. Even if it doesn't make any sense, they got to come up with something. But we're at where we're at least as far as like, I think the group, could be a formidable, stable. We've unfortunately seen some of the Heyman guys in the past, not work out, but I'm also not going to like directly compare like Ryback and Curtis Axel to like Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. Like, I think there's obviously Ryback there was really big plans for, but that was before all the Paul Heyman stuff. Braun Breaker, especially, you can tell they really want him to be somebody long-term in that company. And Bronson could be there for a long time as a major as a monster too. I mean, it depends on how, it depends on how all this winds up ultimately going, obviously. Like, where do they actually go with this story? How long does it take before Seth Rollins wins the championship? Because I feel like he's got to win the world title, either the world title or the WWE championship at some point in the near future. Like, having all this built around you, you got to pay off in that degree at the very least, whether it's through Money in the Bank or not. Yeah, I expect him to be the champion. And what's going to be interesting is the dynamic between him and like Braun Breaker, especially, probably, of like, how long will Braun Breaker not want to have what Seth has? Like, because they've also already almost kind of teased a little bit of that too, I feel like, where Braun didn't really know Bronson was going to join them when he did. They hugged, obviously, once they realized what was going on. But I guess ultimately, I feel like the seeds are almost already being planted of like, eventually Braun Breaker's going to want to be the man himself. But that happens in any group like this. You expect it to. But yeah, I'm interested to know if that happens is it like 6 months from now that Braun Breaker, goes after Seth Rollins or vice versa? Or are we talking like a year or 2 years? Like, how long before they really want to push Braun to the moon, I guess, coming out of this? Because that's going to be one of their big goals in this group, is making him a massive star out of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Heyman is he's going to wrestle, he's going to headline the next 10 WrestleManias, shows you what they think of Braun Breaker. The other return at Saturday Night's Main Event, Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to say. Listen, I obviously expected Cody to come back soon. So he's back. That's great. I love me some Cody. They got to figure out what the hell they're going to do as far as how they're going to set all this up with him and Cena, and him ultimately beating Cena. But, we're going to have to really, see, the reason I'm as lukewarm on any of this as I am is because of the Cena turn. We've talked about that plenty, and that really hasn't changed since the last time we talked. It just isn't really working. So it's unfortunate that Cody, I just feel this is not going to work out how they expected it to ultimately. I think in their minds, when they started booking all of this, it was going to be the crowd was going to just hate John Cena. It was going to be way closer to kind of the vibe we got off of Hollywood Hogan back in the day. They thought it was going to really work, and everything Cena did was going to turn to gold. They probably thought Cena was going to be way better in the ring than he's actually able to compete at nowadays. There's a lot of factors that I think just aren't going how they probably planned. They probably expected The Rock to be actually involved at WrestleMania, even though he wasn't and stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that's just been kind of a big miss when it comes to all this Cena stuff. And in their mind, when this all started, I think their big goal was, we'll get the fans hating Cena. It's going to totally work. We'll turn him back right towards the end. Cody beats him, and Cody's even bigger than he was before he wrestled Cena. When in reality, it's like, nah, Cody should have just beat Cena at WrestleMania, and they should have done something different. Like, and that's why I'm at where I'm at with it. Like, I think it's inevitable that Cody's going to beat him. Now, that said, what we're going to get in the immediate future is going to be Logan Paul and John Cena versus Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, which I think is going to be a solid match. It'll be fun. There'll be a lot of social media buzz surrounding that one with Cena and Logan teaming together and stuff like that. Jey Uso and Cody, obviously former tag team champions together and stuff like that. A lot of the Yeet stuff stems from their press conference together and all that. So it's not like I hate the idea of this tag team match, but there's also that side of me that's like, we only have how many John Cena appearances left forever? And
23.
Yeah, and it's like one of them was that R-Truth match, which the title wasn't even on the line. And that was big. It was a squash. Like, there's certain stuff where just like, man, you would hate to look back on this and be like, did they really waste this much of his return on this thing or that thing? And unfortunately, that's how I feel about it. I think that's probably how you feel about it based on the little we've talked about it. I think a lot of the fans, unfortunately, feel that way. Just it feels like this is not hitting how it should, and Cody's going to be affected by the trickle down of that, I think.
I think the heel turn has sucked. I think they've had no idea what they're doing with it. They've made John Cena, and Jensen, you can attest to this. Because you thought this was good because Cody looked good in this segment. But you can attest to the fact that I said that John Cena looked horrible when he did then he charged Cody and got laid out. I was like, that was dumb. Why would you do that? This makes Cena look terrible off of this heel turn. And you praised it because Cody was standing victorious there. And to me, that was a precursor for what was to come. Of John Cena just looks terrible in just about every segment he's in. I don't even know what his promos are anymore.
Generic.
See,
when I said that, though, to be fair, I didn't actually expect it to like keep getting worse from there. Like, I thought that was like a one-time thing, him being a coward, Cody standing tall. I didn't expect to see him getting crossroads every week,
right.
RKO'd every week. I didn't know all that was going to happen when I praised it.
I understand that, but that was my concern. Is this is the best you got for this John Cena heel turn? You have turned him into generic heel A, where let's fight. No, just kidding. Oh, I'm going to charge back. And then I get laid out. Like, that's every heel John Cena went up against during his top run. And this is the best you got for him. When they gave me that, I was out on this whole thing. And they've done nothing to pick me back up. They've actually just made it worse every single time. It sucks. I'm actually excited that Cody is back because as much as I make fun of Cody and as much as I like to troll you about Cody is very good at adding gravity and importance to things. And Cody is very good at making things make sense and making things feel bigger than they are. So I'm hoping that Cody can somehow save this wretch nonsense that we have had over the past couple of months with John Cena. And I apologize that Cody has to bear that responsibility. It's not his fault that Triple H has booked this shit. And it's not his fault that John Cena is not making for a very good heel. But Cody is in that position for a reason because this is what he's done every single time since returning to WWE. And so this is the cross he's going to have to bear with this John Cena feud.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. I think that on top of that, like, yes, Cody, I obviously have all the faith in the world in him. I think he's the best pro wrestler alive. He can make anything work. I agree with everything you said. But I'm going to be furious, a mix of like furious and massively disappointed if at the end of the day with all of this, because of how bad the Cena stuff has been and the booking of all of this, if this winds up like cooling off Cody or the fans start booing Cody, I'm going to be furious that they went this back, like where he was at as the champion of just, filling out stadiums, everyone doing the song, merch records, everything. Everyone's behind him. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, obviously. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm just really hoping that, like, because he has to be as involved in this shitty Cena stuff that nobody likes, that it doesn't negatively wind up affecting his standing as that guy for the WWE. Because simultaneously, to be fair, guys like CM Punk are getting massive reactions. So, like, I don't want Cody slipping because he's involved in this. That's my main concern.
Oh, as it should be, as a Cody fan, as it should be.
Like, I don't expect it. I don't expect it to become like AEW, where he's gonna like boot out of the building and stuff like that, and it's like becomes a cool thing to hate him or anything. But like, I don't want. They had him in the perfect spot, the perfect situation before all this Cena stuff.
It's like us for the Wolverines in Super Chat. So Cena isn't the problem. All you people are the problem.
Hey.
I want this John Cena stuff to be good. Everyone knows I'm a big John Cena fan. I got the Chain Gang shirt and everything in my closet. I got the Word Life shirt.
The half hour.
I've got the white Word Life shirts with the blue collar.
Mm-hmm. I remember that one.
I'm a big John Cena fan. This stuff just isn't good. Like I'm not into it. And don't give me though it's bad on purpose. That's a lazy excuse.
There's a difference. No, I know. I'm right there with you, dude. Like, I was a massive John Cena hater in his early career, but like in more recent years, I really came around. The main thing that he did that made me really turn the corner on him was when he started doing the US Open Challenge matches. And like he actually was having good wrestling matches. And I was like, oh damn, like when he wants to, he can actually be really entertaining. And from there, I always became a fan of his and a defender of his. And I really wanted this final run to be amazing, And I love that they turned him heel. Like the actual moment of him turning heel is going to go down as an all-time moment in WWE history. But the asterisk is going to be everyone talking about what happened after the heel turn. Very, very different. Because like the comparison it's always going to get is like, well, like when Hogan turned heel, it's like, yeah, well, Hogan turned heel. And then like for like years, he was the top heel of WCW and WCW was beating WWF. Like a completely different thing than what we're seeing with John Cena's heel turn. John Cena's like making people like us that want to root him on in his last year, whether he's a heel or a babyface. I don't want to be sitting here and being like, dude, John Cena's like having bad matches and the promos are lame. And like, I feel like we're wasting his appearances. Like, I don't want to be in this situation either. So, yeah. I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it one more time. They should not have announced his retirement date ahead of time. They've pigeonholed themselves so badly by letting everybody know ahead of time he's done in December. It limits so much of what you could have done with this.
I mean, they announced that in July of last year. So they had 6 months to figure it out before all of that. And this is what they've got. So,
well, regardless of, I see what you're saying, but regardless of how we look at it, I guess my point is like, if you were going to turn him heel, because I don't think he'd actually decided to turn him heel until like around the time they actually turned him heel. I don't think that the plan was to turn him heel last year. So like, that's really more my point is like, I guess in hindsight, yeah, they announced it well in advance that he was going to be done at the end of the year. But like how things wound up playing out, if he turns heel at Elimination Chamber this year or even waits till WrestleMania and we don't know when the end is, we're looking at this completely differently because there's not that expectation of there's limited time or like he has to turn back by a certain time where it's got to be Cody by December. It just would have opened it up for so much more because we're sitting here thinking, is Cena the champion still by next WrestleMania? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just we know the end date and we know he's not going to be winning on the way out. He's not leaving with the championship. So, like, it just boxes you in creatively, massively.
Let's move on to the other spotlights.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
Ace Austin is now a free agent. He has left TNA. He had a run with TNA that included the Tag Team Championships and the X Division Championship. He was X Division champion, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making that. Okay. I was making sure. My memory on this
Yeah, I
thing.
think multiple times.
Good.
Yeah. He's won it more than once.
Yeah, he's 3-time X Division champion, 3-time Tag Team champion as well. He'd been with the company since 2019, I believe. 2019. And but now he is a free agent. What'd you make when Scott D'Amore broke this news that Ace Austin became a free agent?
Yeah, did he did it through like his blog or podcast or something? Like that's like personal outlet?
Yeah, he has a column on Yahoo Sports where he did this.
Nice. Is he a part of Uncrowned with Helwani in that group?
Yeah.
Nice. That's very cool. I've always liked Scott D'Amore. It sounds like most people have always liked him. I'm a big fan of Ace Austin. I have been for quite a long time. I've always thought he's clearly very athletic, very well put together, like looks like an athlete, the kind of guy that like if you saw him in the grocery store, you'd be like, he looks like somebody. Like I was advocating around the time he came into TNA for them, Impact at the time, for them to massively push him as a top guy. Like I really wanted to see it because he brought something different to the table. He hadn't made his name. Like I knew him from the indie scene, but he hadn't made his name on a national scale yet. And he had like all the talent and potential in the world. So I'm sitting here thinking like, you can have a new homegrown guy here that like you can push that isn't a cast off from WWE or AEW or whatever. And he had a really solid run there, in my opinion. As you mentioned, multiple time X Division champion, multiple time tag team champion. And what's ironic or coincidental is that at the same time that I was saying all that stuff about Ace Austin and me wanting to see him get pushed to the moon in TNA as like an original there, I was saying the same exact stuff about Chris Bay. And those were like my two guys. You guys can go back and watch even back before Joel and Cresta were even doing those, back when it was me and Denise doing the TNA pay-per-view reviews. Even back then, I was constantly talking about push Chris Bay, push Ace Austin. Those were my two dudes. And the fact that they wound up teaming together wound up working out pretty cool because they wound up being a great tag team. Very successful. Obviously, we wish well to Chris Bay on his recovery. But Ace Austin is a guy who just kind of, what was there really left for him to do in TNA outside of a world title run, which would have been cool to see. But if his contract's up, number one, I think he, along with most people in wrestling, I think he'd be a fool to not test free agency right now with the current landscape of wrestling. So right there, if I was him, I'd let my contract run out anyways and just see if there's interest. And I don't know anything firsthand, but there's absolutely going to be interest in him from multiple companies. Like, I don't know if like WWE is super interested or AEW or whatever, but like he's going to have options as a free agent for sure.
I don't know.
I'm confident at the very least NXT. At the very least.
This is not a knock on Ace Austin, who I do think is very good, and I think TNA should have done more with him. Like, I don't think he should have just been in the X Division title picture and then the tag team title picture for as long as he was. Maybe you're right on NXT. Maybe. My thought is there are only so many spots in AEW, and I don't know where he fits on that roster. I don't think he fits in WWE main roster. I think New Japan might be his best option if that's where he wants to potentially go. There's not a ton of spots, and I just don't know where he fits on any of these rosters. Like if WWE wanted to take a look at him, they would have had him in some NXT stuff over the past year with the partnership, and they haven't. And there was no talks of it, unlike with Josh Alexander, where there was at least like some talks of, we might want to do something with him. I just don't know where he fits. Like, free agency sounds really good, and Ace Austin is a very good wrestler, and I think is capable of more. But he's not on the level of someone like Josh Alexander was when he was coming into free agency. Josh Alexander was a proven commodity in TNA and kind of done everything he needed to do in TNA. Ace Austin probably felt like there was a little bit more there to do. And I truthfully would not be surprised if he just ends up back in TNA within the next year.
I was going to say that also. That's also not out of the realm of possibility, him going back to TNA. And that's not necessarily even a bad thing. It's not even like a tail between his legs type scenario necessarily, because he might be able to negotiate against TNA to get himself a better deal to go back. I mean, I just think he'd be doing himself a disservice to not find out what his market value is.
Sure.
But,
and I'm not saying like don't try free agency. Like, hey, if you got the opportunity to try free agency, you should. I just don't know what the market is for him. As good as I think he is, he unfortunately wasn't given that many opportunities in TNA beyond tag team wrestler and X Division wrestler. And unfortunately, his tag team partner is hurt, so you can't even potentially get them two together for your tag team division. So now you're just looking at, all right, we have an X Division guy who was good as an X Division champion, but was not even on the level of like a Speedball as an X Division champion.
So that's who I was about to bring up, is Speedball, because I see their situations actually to be pretty similar, because Ace Austin was actually in TNA way longer than Speedball was and has way more exposure as far as like being in that company. One, he was the X Division champion longer than Speedball was. He did more in a tag team than Speedball did. Like, he's way more accomplished, technically speaking, on paper than Speedball was. And it's not like I'm a huge Speedball fan, obviously. I've been praising the guy's work for years. I ranked him as the best in-ring wrestler in the entire world a couple years ago. Like, I love Speedball. But but that's why when I look at Ace Austin, I'm like, I didn't expect, not that Speedball wasn't capable, but I think Speedball has actually been showcased way better in AEW than I expected when he went in. Like, the way they're using him, I think he's doing really well for himself on a roster that I thought he was going to get lost in the mix on, just because that happens to so many people there. Could that potentially happen to Ace Austin also? Maybe, but like, I think that's a pretty close, it's like it's a comparison that I think is like worth bringing up. Like, yeah, I mean, dude, Ace Austin is headlining as many like indie shows as Speedball was. Both guys are headliners when they're not in TNA everywhere they
go. Speedball had the cachet of like, this dude is the best unsigned wrestler. Ace Austin's having good matches, but no one is saying Ace Austin is a guy who should be in a major company. Again, this is not a knock on Ace Austin.
I disagree with that. I think there's a lot of people that think he should be in a major company.
I think there are people who, he should be in a major company, but not to the level of Speedball, dude. Like, Speedball was working 5 shows a week. And again, everyone was like, have you seen this latest Speedball match? Have you seen this latest Speedball match? Like, I don't see that kind of buzz for Ace Austin.
I think it's closer than you think.
Okay.
I agree with you. Like, I agree with you that Speedball had more buzz, but Ace Austin has great matches. Like, he has great matches, and he headlines most of the shows he's on.
I really want to make this clear that I'm not trying to knock Ace Austin, because I'm pretty sure I've been on this show or other shows talking about how they should do more with Ace Austin and how they should just give him more opportunities once the X Division stuff was done. I think when he re-signed with the company, we talked about, Ace Austin should be a guy who you could maybe move up to the heavyweight division and give him a world title look at some point. And they just never did. They kept him in one spot. This is not a knock on Ace Austin at all. I see him more in the Kevin Knight light than Speedball, where Kevin Knight was highly touted and people were praising Kevin Knight, but they weren't talking about him the way they were talking about Speedball. And it's not that they weren't talking about Kevin Knight. It's just the difference of how they talked about him and Ace Austin compared to how they talked about Speedball. And look, Kevin Knight's doing great. Kevin Knight had a good role in AEW before going to New Japan and doing Best of Super Juniors. He's going to come back and he's going to have probably a very good role in AEW. But the also the point on these guys are AEW has filled the Speedball role and the Kevin Knight role and the Josh Alexander role with Speedball, Kevin Hart, and Josh Alexander. So where are you putting Ace Austin?
Right. Well, and that's why I was saying, like, I would have said all of this stuff about the guys you just mentioned too before they signed. You know what I mean? Like, I agree with all of that, but like they did find roles for them. Listen, I'm not going to argue, like, obviously AEW's roster they have a humongous roster. So like you're always going to be risking getting lost in the mix on that roster, no matter who you are. Like Kenny Omega can get lost in the mix on that roster I'm not saying that should happen, but like there are times like MJF's kind of getting lost in the roster at the moment, kind of like there's, so there's a risk to going there for sure. I just think that Ace Austin has the talents there. He has the look. Like I'm confident he'll wind up in a major promotion. And at the very least, I think he winds up back in TNA at the least, I guess. But like, I could definitely see him. I don't think he's going to be like just grinding the indies from here on out. Like, I think he's going to be, I mean, even like MLW, like you wind up there for a while and maybe get a good push there. I mean, there's options. MLW is different because obviously they don't like usually do the same types of contracts and stuff like that. But like you know what I mean. Like there are places that he can wrestle that are basically TV promotions and stuff like that.
He's going to be he's going to be a regular at Maple Leaf Pro. He's already been announced for their next event, so he's going to be a regular there. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him go to Japan if that's something that he wants to do. He's done Japan before. He's done Tag League, and I think he's done Best of Super Juniors. So if that's something he wants to do, he could probably go over there and build up that. I know they just held Best of Super Juniors, so that's off the table for a year. But that's something that's a possibility for him to build up something and show more of himself and showcase more of himself. My thought is he ends up back in TNA within the next year. And it's not a knock on him. There are just only so many spots on these companies right now. And I don't know where he fits in the top two promotions.
Yeah, makes sense.
Speaking of TNA, Trick Williams, NXT superstar, is the new TNA champion. He defeated Joe Hendry at NXT Battleground on Sunday. And now he'll face Mike Santana on Tuesday's NXT. So, Trick Williams, what'd you make of TNA going with a WWE guy?
It's interesting. I mean, obviously they have the relationship, so it's not like it's not like I didn't think it was possible, or it's not like I didn't think it wasn't possible, I guess you should say. It's like, I don't know. I guess I haven't been paying attention close enough to this aspect of it, but like, is Hendry like out? Is there like a lot of speculation that he's like heading to WWE full time soon or something?
I mean, that's been the speculation since he showed up on WWE TV last year. It's just a matter of when he's available to do so.
No, I know that, but I guess what I really meant to ask is like, does it make sense that like they would take the title off him right now because that's what was happening? Because I don't know why else you would wait this long to give him the title. Finally gets the big stage of WrestleMania. He's the champion. Like he loses the belt within like a couple months of winning it. Just seems like
they haven't done that. They didn't do anything with his reign anyway. His reign wasn't good. Like I know you watch the weekly television, Jensen.
I agree with you. I just
wasn't a good title reign.
But it just seems like you would stick with. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's just me. I felt like they would probably stick with it longer, considering how long they took. I mean, it was way overdue for them to put the title on him to begin with.
Yeah,
like this should have been like a 6-month reign. Then right, but like, but I mean, like, good for Trick. At least that keeps him doing something that matters. Like, if they're not going to have him be the NXT champion right now, and they're not going to have him on Raw or SmackDown, like, this is really the best thing he probably could be involved with, is being the TNA champion. So I'm happy for Trick from that aspect. I'm also happy for Mike Santana, because the more people that can watch him, the better. I think that guy's awesome. Like, that dude has banger matches, always knocks it out of the park in every scenario, brings something different to the table. And I like that he's a guy who was primarily known as a tag team guy as far as like the mainstream wrestling audience for so long. And he really broke out as like, you know, I talked about it before, but like I got to see him wrestle at Terminus in a singles match years back here in Atlanta. And that's when he was still teaming with Ortiz, but he did that singles match. And I was like, damn, this guy's like really damn good as a singles wrestler. Like, I'm surprised we don't see more of this. And, you know, fast forward a few years, I'm right there with Joel Pearl. Like, this guy should be the TNA champion. Like, that's my vote. So like, if Santana ends up beating Trick Williams for the title, that's pretty cool, but I don't expect them to take the title off Trick like immediately, unless, you know, maybe storyline wise, Hendry or someone else like causes him to lose it right away or something. I don't know. But I guess in a nutshell, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like it's weird that the title reign of Hendry was so short. I'm happy for Trick Williams that he's got something important that at least he gets to be involved with while he's kind of in almost like purgatory between, like, you know what I mean, between NXT and main roster, because he's done everything there is to do in NXT. It's like he's got to be waiting for the call for Raw or SmackDown at this point, you would think, or they may not think he's ready yet, and that's an actual like scary situation to be in. Which I'm not saying that's the case, but like, if the reason he hasn't been to Raw or SmackDown or isn't getting called up anytime soon is because they don't think he's ready yet, that's a real pickle to be in, because like, you've accomplished everything in NXT. They don't want you in Raw or SmackDown. What the hell are you going to be doing with your time while you're on the roster? I guess going for the TNA championship. So, you know, and then if this somehow is a vehicle to get the title onto Mike Santana, like, I'm all for it. Like, Santana should be the TNA World Champion, in my opinion. Unless, I don't know what his contract is with TNA. I have literally no idea. But the only caveat to this would be, like, if it's a shorter term deal and like he doesn't win the title because he's going to get signed to the WWE instead or something, that's a totally different conversation. But like, you know, if he's going to be in TNA going forward, Santana should be the champion, in my opinion.
I don't think we're going to get a finish between Santana and Trick Williams on Tuesday. I imagine we'll get some type of nonsense, because I agree they should put the title on Santana. I think it's probably going to happen at Slammiversary, because they still got to move tickets for that show. And Santana winning in his in New York would make sense for that. And beating Trick Williams, beating the NXT guy, is a story you can tell. So I think that is the biggest reason why they put it on Trick, is I think they see Santana and Trick as a bigger match for that event than whoever they were going to go with, which could have been like Trick and Joe Hendry and Santana didn't have kind of the juice you would need for that match or for that show. In Mike Santana beating Joe Hendry, who people love, doesn't make a whole lot of sense there. And who else are you going to put in that spot to Santana to beat in New York on that show? Like Ali defeating Hendry and then Santana defeating Ali, like that would have made some sense. But I think they see Trick Williams as a bigger star than Ali and giving them more cachet than Ali, which I don't think they're totally wrong with, because Trick gives you the NXT bump, and I do love Ali, but they've already done Santana and Ali, and it was a great feud.
That was an awesome match.
Yeah, it was a great feud. It was a great match, but I think they look at Trick as he gives you just a bigger bump than Ali.
Yeah, I guess. I never really compared Ali and Trick in any way, but like I guess the argument I would make is like Ali was on WWE television for like a decade, but like Trick Williams is one of the more like over or famous or whatever current NXT stars, whereas Ali's been kind of out of that WWE system for the last couple of years. So, but I get what you're saying though. I'm not disagreeing, and it makes I didn't really consider. It makes more sense for Santana not to beat Hendry in New York for the title, because Hendry's supposed to be a baby face. The fans are going to want Santana to win. It's going to cause a weird dynamic. Plus, the actual match between Santana and Trick, I think, would be better than that's the one thing about Hendry is like, I don't think he's particularly great in the ring. I think he does what he needs to do well, but he's not like overly entertaining like on the grand scheme of things. If that makes sense. Like his entrance is fun. He's over. His charisma might work and stuff. Like he's a great, superstar type wrestler. But like, if I wanted a better match, I'd probably want Trick Williams versus Santana personally. And I want Ali versus Santana over any of these options again. Like that match at the last pay-per-view was fantastic. So, but yeah, hopefully Santana wins the title soon. That'd be good for him. He deserves it.
I don't think he's going to get it on Tuesday. I hope he gets it at Slammiversary and they don't just completely miss on giving him the title because yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. And the problem is I don't know how long he's going to be the guy because I think WWE liked what they saw with him on Tuesday as well. And he might be headed there sooner rather than later, depending on when he's able to make it there.
I would also have to imagine that like the same people that brought in Penta and Phoenix, like a lot of their tape is like against Santana and stuff. You know what I mean? Like he was probably already heavily on their radar, and then he shows up on NXT and gets good reaction. So like it's going to be a no-brainer. They're absolutely going to want him for sure. So,
all right, folks, that'll do it for us this week. Jensen, what do you got going on?
Ooh, that's a good question. This weekend, I don't know if there's a whole lot going on actually. But yeah, if you guys want to follow me on social media, follow my X account at @FightTalk_. Creator Class 3 was postponed. For those of you who may not have heard, that event has been an absolute fucking dumpster fire. So if you guys want to not support that event, it's so funny because we've supported it so much the first two, like interviewing Dad and Morrison and stuff. But what has happened for this third show, I'm not going to get into it because y'all can do your own research. But it has been I've never seen something. This is like the Fire Fest of fucking boxing events. But anyway, I've been following that really closely, and there was a big announcement with that today. But outside of that, Weekender podcast every Sunday or Monday over on FightfulSelect.com, covering the world of independent pro wrestling. And I'll keep y'all posted on like the 1FW stuff when it comes to like Jameson and that promotion. They want me doing stuff like in the actual company a little bit too. I'm not comfortable with some of the stuff that's been proposed up to now. Probably won't do some of the stuff that's been proposed, but I don't know. It's cool that they're going to be giving center stage. And so I'll be supporting. You'll be hearing from people on that show soon. Thank you to Connor Casey for joining again. Good catching up with you. And thank you to Mose as well for jumping on the show short notice. Everyone go watch Action Dean over on the Ring of Honor YouTube channel.
There you go. Jensen, appreciate it. As always, guys, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode of The Spotlight. I'll be back here on this channel tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, myself and Joel Pearl in the weeds. Paul London scheduled to join us tomorrow. Paul London, who's basically become a regular on that show. I'm going to pitch him all of my wacky booking ideas, and he will probably appreciate them, knowing Paul London. So there you go, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We will talk to y'all next week.